Well, if I'm going to invite you to use photography as meditation, how are you going to fit that into your day? You're busy. I know it. Everyone is. I'm an executive. I never believe myself when I say that, but I work at a software company. We're busy. How do we actually find the time to do this sort of a thing? Well, I've got some ideas for you. I'll walk you through them step by step. How can you get a photo walk into a very busy day? The first part is me not wanting to get out of my warm bed. I like to shoot the golden hour, which is the 1 hour right after sunrise and the 1 hour right before sunset. It's kind of my cheat code for making people like some of my photos, is because the sun helps out. But that means I'm in my bed and I don't want to get out of my bed. That's the first part of every one of these journeys to me, unless I'm going to shoot midday or something. But can I achieve escape velocity from my cozy bed? So still in my bed, I will check out the events. I will check and see what kind of events are going on nearby, in case maybe I'll wander into something. Like there's a parade or a festival or a gathering, something where there's some people. Or I'll also check out Google Maps, and I'll start to map out an area that I want to go to. So my project today, where I'm working on this, is I want to take textures, I want to look around and see if I can find some kind of interesting, maybe urban textures. So thinking of areas that there will be some decay and some stuff like that. So I go events, I go maps, and then I sort of think about weather conditions, and I try to put those all together and decide what's the area going to do for my photo. This doesn't take a lot of time. It takes 3 to 5 minutes. So you can squeeze this in during other stuff. Like I'm doing it right now, waking up, so I'm going to do it before work. But you could do it during work, like you're on a little break or something. Where do I find the time? I don't surf. I don't use a whole lot of social networks. It takes 3 to 5 minutes to find where you want to go, what you want to get done. You sort of scout it out a little bit, find some ideas, and then you got to get up out of your bed and go. Water in my hair because, oh my gosh, it's sitting up tall like it wants to see the manager for something. Google what the temperature was, and she told me that it's 28 degrees, so it's below freezing. There's going to be snow, so I'm going to put on a couple extra layers, and I got this thing that it sort of acts like wearing a scarf without the ropey part of the scarf. A nice warm Maine hat with a little black version of the Maine flag on it. And then I almost forgot to take my pills, my morning medicine. So then it's a question of which camera body, which lens. So right now this is the Fujifilm X-T5. It's a 35 millimeter lens, which is equivalent to about a 52 millimeter shot. This is the Sony A7 III with a 50 millimeter lens, so they're both about the same length. I'm gonna take out the Fuji because it just got new firmware to improve the autofocus, and I wanna see how the autofocus turns out. So this is the guy for today. In this jumble here, I have a pile of batteries for different camera systems. I will grab a fresh new battery. So camera, lens, battery. I turn on the camera and I double check the battery to see if it's full. One of the things that's happening too is that, like, every time you get ready to go out and do something like this, especially where I've got to wear like outer layers and all that sort of stuff, I'm fighting resistance, just like you do when you meditate in the traditional sense. In meditation, when you get your beads and you're out there and you're breathing and all that sort of thing, you are thinking your thoughts and you're letting the day get into the way of your meditation. This is the same thing with photography as meditation. I'm fighting the resistance of, like, I don't want to go outside. It's going to be super cold, but I know when I go out there I'm going to be okay, and I know when I go out there I'm going to be better for it, just like meditating. Yep, it's a little bit cold out. Oh, but Chris, you shot that whole video about using the Sony a6000, and here you are talking about this Fujifilm camera instead. What happened to the a6000? Well, joke's on me. It's in my pocket in case I need it. It's good to have it. It's great to have it on me. I love how it shoots. I could use this as the only camera if I wanted, but I like the technology of cameras, and I like some of the differences that you get if you want to go crazy. It's cold, and go down the road. Is that look at the top of this. Look at all those little dials. These dials are quick, easy access to what's called the exposure triangle. We're not going to talk that much about that unless we do something advanced a lot later on in this series, but the dials let me fidget even more. Autofocus makes me focus on what's outside the lens. The dials make me focus on how I'm helping extract something from the scene. So it's just a different function. All right, I gotta put you down because I gotta drive. I've shot photos of this back of this broken down building a bunch of times in different ways, used them for different things. And because today what I'm going after is kind of decay, and specifically kind of like close-ups of textures that are left by decay, I figured this is a good, quick, easy stomping ground. So by the way, one of the things I did was I researched one area that I was gonna go and do this thing, and then I changed my mind at the last minute, decided I'll come here and shoot this. So I'm gonna do this wall here, this door, because I love some of the textures. I'm gonna see what I can get out of this door as my first piece that I'm gonna go after. One of the things that's obviously a little different is that if I'm gonna talk to you, I'm obviously not really focusing just on my shot. So I'm not doing the thing I set out to do with the meditation, but another thing that fills me and pleases me is being able to share with you and communicate with you. So it's not meditation, but it is most definitely a different thing I could do to be useful. Let me show you something else too. So with my Fujifilm camera, a lot of times what people buy a Fuji for is that you can, right out of the camera, have these cool like film simulations. So what I do is I shoot one photo in JPEG, like a regular photo file that you're used to, and it at the same time makes a photo in RAW, which means it has all this data, the raw materials to make a photo, all in one place. And so what I do is I set my camera to shoot in black and white. So if you look, I don't know if you can see that really well, but it's black and white. So what it does is it makes me work on just the textures and the composition and not focus as much on color, because like you and everybody, I'm drawn to color. I see color and it draws me to something I think is interesting, but it doesn't mean that the composition is that interesting. And so I am using black and white as a way to remind myself to pay attention to the composition and not just the color. Now that's kind of why to have the fancier camera, but you don't need any of this. You can just go and shoot. You can shoot anything you want. You can shoot dogs, family, none of it matters. Part of it is just getting out and taking some shots. I'm already back. I knew I was going to do a shorter trip because I was filming it for you, but also because, you know, the workday's starting and I have to be on station. I have stuff I got to do. I was laughing because I was going to say, and I'll be honest, because some of these things, I don't like the phrase, I'll be honest. I don't ever use it myself, but I think it's really funny. Love it. People say, I'll be honest, and I think, oh, so you were lying the whole time before. But what I was gonna say is that sometimes when you're trying to do this and you have your work day around it, things get cut off. But it's okay, you just gotta go with how much did you get? Did you have a good time? Did you disconnect from the things you needed to disconnect from? And so then, the last part of this always is you get home and you take a look at them. And sometimes if you have to jump right into work, which I kind of have to do, I'm gonna sort of fudge it a little. But when you get home, photography when you're not just using it for meditation. Photography, I always say there's three parts. There's taking the shots, there's editing the shots, and there's presenting them in some way. Could be printing. I like to print photos. My mom and dad on free record shop day or whatever they call it. So it's taking, it's editing, and printing. Now, if you don't want to edit, don't edit. So for me, and kind of the things I'm doing, because photography is part of it for me, I take the SD card out, I put it in a SD card reader that I have, and then I slot that in to my laptop, and I take a look at the photos.